Hey everyone, it's Mari. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I have a card making process video here to share with you today for an interactive card that I made recently. And I'm going to show you some of the products here that I used to create this card. Here's the little finished card that I'm going to be showing you. This is a little, like you can see the little interactive flap. And this is a landscape A2 card that has that top fold on it to open up. And I'm not really sure what sentiment I'm going to put inside there yet. I like to leave them blank until I'm ready to use them, and then I'll add the sentiment then. I am going to be using this really adorable little love letters stamp set from Lawn Fawn. I'm going to be using the little happy mail sentiment and the I love you and one of the little speech bubbles with the heart in it for my card today. I'm also going to be using this Lawn Fawn push here set, and I'm going to be using that little lift the flap sentiment on a spot on my card. I'm also going to be using the dies from Lawn Fawn. This is the lift the flap die, I believe is what it's called. And I just love these. I think they're so cool. And this is just a really easy way to add an interactive element to your card. Now I'm also going to be using some Mama Elephant products. This is the Little Monkey Agenda stamp and die set. I just love these images. They're so sweet, and there's so many fun things that you can do with that stamp set. I'm also going to be using the Mama Elephant Swinging Borders set. I'm going to be using that vine that you can see there across the top of my stamp or my card. I'm going to be stamping that down, and I'm going to be using some Copic markers to color that in. I'm going to be using a few other things from my stash as well. I'm going to be using the cloud stencil from My Favorite Things, and I'm going to also be using this stitched rectangle die from My Favorite Things as well. I'm going to be using a variety of Copic inks in greens, yellows, and browns and pinks. And I'm also going to be using a couple of oxide inks. One is the Tumble Glass that's on the right, and the other is the Mowed Lawn that's on the left. I absolutely love these two colors. They're two of the newest colors. Now this is another version of that card that I made, which I just made some slight variations to. You can see that it's not exactly the same as the other card. I think they're both really cute. I just wanted to show you. I just mixed it up. I don't always make exactly the same cards more than once. I like to change them up and just make little variations of them when I'm creating the cards. Now I'm just going to take my Misty and I'm going to stamp out my little monkeys images that I'm going to be using. I'm using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, which is a Copic friendly ink, and I'm just stamping that onto some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, and that's a Copic friendly paper as well. I really like using that paper to make my cards. I just like the weight of the paper, and it's got a really great surface for blending different inks and so on. So it's my go-to for sure. I'm sorry I'm working off camera here a little bit because I had my focus set for zooming in for the coloring, but I'm just, this is pretty basic stuff here. I'm just using my Misty to stamp out my images here and getting those ready to start to work with. So I'm first going to just go in and I'm going to color my images in here. I'm going to start off here by stamping out my little vines, and I'm going to color those little leaves in on the vine, and I'm going to use a combination of YG13, Y11, and G07 for my coloring. So I just went in with that YG13 to start. I added a little bit of a highlight with the Y11, and then I went in with the G07 to add a little bit of shading, and then I'm blending that out with YG13. So you can just see that process is really, really simple. I'm not going to show you the coloring of every one of those leaves. Now you can see that I've stamped that same vine image out on some Eclipse paper. This is just a paper that you can use to make a mask. And so I stamped on it. I fussy cut the vines out with my little tiny scissors. And now I'm just covering up that vine so that I can put the clouds down that I'm going to be adding over top of the vine. So now I'm just going to take that My Favorite Things cloud stencil, and I'm going to take that Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to just take my Distress blending tool, and I'm going to blend some of that blue color onto there to create the impression of some clouds in the background. And this is not very realistic, I have to admit. I'm not really sure if there would just be some random vines across the sky, we would obviously assume that there's some trees attached to those vines. I could have actually stamped the vines down in multiple layers. I could have put more, more vines, intersecting vines and so on. But this is just a really simple, quick way of creating that impression of the vines. And I just wanted to have a little spot where my little monkeys could be swinging from. So now I'm just going to take and I'm going to lightly add and blend this ink onto my paper. You can just see that I'm dabbing off a little bit onto some scrap, and I've got another piece of cardstock behind my card front just to make sure that I'm not making a big mess with my ink. So I'm just inking up my blending tool. I'll just dab it off a little bit just so that it's not quite so dark. And then I'll go onto my paper and do my blending. I just love this Tumble Glass color. It's one of my all-time favorite distress inks, and I was so excited to see the Tumble Glass in the new line of the recent release of the Distress Oxide colors. Now I'm just taking my tweezers and I'm taking off that masking paper, and now you can see that the clouds are just kind of like behind my vine, and now I'm just going to make sure that my vine is actually colored, because I forgot to do that when I colored my leaves. And I'm just going to go in with that YG13 again and just add a tiny little wee bit of ink to my vine. Now it's time to color the little sweet little monkeys from Monkey Agenda, and I'm just going to use a combination of E53, E55, and E57. So I'm going to start off with the lightest here. I'm going to color the entire little monkey with E53, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a little bit of shading with the E55 and the E57, blending out with the E53. So you'll just see me doing that quickly here for this one little monkey. I'll show you the entire process for one monkey, and then I'm going to just edit out coloring all of the monkeys, because it's just the same process over and over again. For the little leaves on the one little monkey, I just used the same 3 colors of yellows and greens that I used for the other vines, and I'm good to go. The monkey that's holding the banana, I just used my Y11 again to color in my little banana there that's on the monkey. And the monkey that has the vine, I just used my same colors of green that I've used previously to color that in. I don't have a ton of Copic markers in my stash. I have just a really basic set of Copics. I'm not even sure how many I would have, but it's not that many. I have just a really basic set of 3 colors per color. So for example, I've got 3 colors of yellow, 3 colors of green, and so on in the different color families, so that I can always have just sort of like a basic color set to work from when I want to use my Copic markers. They are super expensive and they're not always easy to find for me. And so I find that just working and building that basic set has been great for what I need. Now I'm just going to take that stitched rectangle die from My Favorite Things, and I'm going to cut out my card front. And then I'm going to just take this piece of rainbow patterned paper from Lawn Fawn in the green. I've added the green, the grassy border to that from Lawn Fawn, using my grassy border die from Lawn Fawn just to create the grass. And now I use that same rectangle die to cut that grass out, just to add that stitched edge to it as well, so that when I add it onto my card, it matches up with the rest of the card front. So I'm going to adhere that down to the bottom, just to create that impression of the grass at the bottom of my card for my little scene that I'm creating here. And now I'm going to start to add my little monkeys in. So where the flap is going to be, I'm going to put 2 of the little monkeys. And I decided to change this card up a little bit. I'm going to add one of the little monkeys that's holding a heart. Now you could actually add these little monkeys, if you have this stamp set, hanging from their tail, which is super cute, but I didn't do that. I had them kind of holding on by their little front paws, I guess I don't know. I feel like monkeys do they have paws or hands? I'm not sure. Whatever those appendages are called, that's what they're hanging from there. And then the one little guy is coming down from the vine. So you can see that this card, I switched it up a little bit. The other card that I made, I had the vine flipped so that it was just a little bit, looked a little bit different on the card front. Now I took that flap die and I cut that, the medium-sized flap, from some white Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock again. And now I'm just going to colorize it using that Mowed Lawn Distress ink. And gosh, you guys, this color is my favorite green. I just love this. It's so bright and pretty, and it's just like my favorite ever. Love, love, love this. So I've got that all inked up, and now I'm just going to spritz that with a little bit of water just to make it look a little bit more interesting, to distress that and get that oxidized. And now I'm just going to dry that very quickly before I add it on to my card front. And I'm just going to adhere this with a little bit of Tombow Mono adhesive. Before I add that adhesive, I'm going to, and before I stick it down, I'm going to stamp my little Happy Mail sentiment on there. And I'm going to take that Lift the Flap stamp, and I'm just going to curve it on my block. I'm just going to take it and add a little bit of a curve to it, and then I'm going to stamp that on. And I practice with it a little bit just to make sure that I have that going kind of the way that I want it. I don't just practice a little bit, I practice quite a lot to make sure that the impression that it's going to leave is going to be nice. And I'm just using VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp my sentiments down so that they're really nice and dark and crisp. And I like how that looks. I think that's really cute, and it definitely lets the recipient of the card know that they need to lift up that flap. Now I've just taken my my bone folder, and I just really gave a crisp score and fold to that little top of the flap so that it will fold up nice when it's folded. Now I've just added some Tombow Mono on there, and I am just letting that stick down by putting a block on top of it so that it gets nice and stuck. Now I'm taking some Simon Says Stamp Hot Lips ink, and I'm going to stamp out that little speech bubble, the thought bubble, with a little heart in it. I really like that. I think it's cute. And I've got a little monkey that's holding a heart there, just kind of nestled into the grass. And then I've stuck two of the other little monkeys in behind the flap with the sentiment, I love you, behind there. So when you lift the flap, it says, I love you inside. I think this would be a really cute little Valentine's card. It would be a really cute birthday card, just a little card to cheer somebody up. There's a lot of different reasons that you could have to send and use this card. I think the sentiments are pretty sweet. I used a little bit of craft foam on the back of my card front here, and I'm using some Simon Says Stamp cardstock here in Surf Blue as my card base. And now I'm just going to finish some things up here by using some Nuvo shimmer pen. I'm going to use a little bit of the Nuvo Crystal Glaze in a couple of spots and just add a little bit of shimmer and shine to my card to finish it up. And that's going to be my card for today, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you liked this. I had so much fun making this, guys. I have so much fun making cards. It's a lot different than scrapbooking. The workflow is different. Doing the videos is actually even quite a lot different than doing a scrapbooking video, but it's a process I really enjoy. I like to mix it up in my craft area, and I just enjoy making these little cards, and I really enjoy sending them out to people. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you come back another time to check out another video here on my channel, and I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you another time. Bye.